Good morning and happy Easter. Alleluia, Jesus is risen. Today we celebrate Easter Sunday, which is one of the most joyful and important days of the year in the church. Easter is always celebrated in the spring, a time of new life everywhere, but our Easter story actually begins on Good Friday, when Jesus was nailed to the cross, died and was buried, and then 3 days later rose from the dead. Have any of you had a grandparent or someone close to you that died? Maybe you've had a pet that dies. It's always very sad, and you wish that the person or the pet could come back to life. Well, the wonderful story of Easter is about how Jesus did exactly that. He came back to life on Easter morning. And the promise that he gives us is that he will always be with us. And one day, if we believe in him, we will be reunited with him in heaven, just as he was reunited with God when he rose from the dead. So I mentioned that Easter is in the spring, a time of new life. Think about right now. The snow has melted. The days are sometimes starting to be warmer and sunnier. The grass is starting to turn green. If you go outside, you see birds chirping. You hear birds chirping. You see some flowers trying to peek up out of the ground. New life is everywhere. In fact, sometimes even new baby animals are born, such as lambs and bunnies and even baby chicks. Baby chicks, as you know, are born out of eggs, and Easter eggs are a very important symbol of Easter. Some of you may have had an Easter egg hunt where you looked for eggs, found them, opened them up, and maybe there was a surprise inside, such as here. Look, a new baby chick celebrating new life. Part of Easter is about celebrating new life with traditions such as Easter egg hunts. It's all about the new life that we get from Jesus. And today our story is about how Jesus was raised from the dead. Let's tell our story using the Bible bag like we always do. Let's see what's in the Bible bag today. Well, the first thing in the bag is Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was a follower and a friend of Jesus. And she was actually the first person who came to the tomb and saw that it was empty. We'll listen for her in the story. Of course, in the story, we also had Jesus, who's the most important part of the story of all. One of the traditions in Jesus' time was that if you were buried, you were wrapped in what they called burial cloths. It was a way that they got people ready to be buried in a tomb. So a tomb is kind of like a big cave, and a person is placed in the tomb, and then they put a big heavy rock over the tomb, sort of like a door that's so big it can't be rolled away, so the body is safe inside. In fact, if you were in Sunday school today, and I wish that we all were, our Seeds booklet has a picture of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. Over here is the tomb and the stone that was rolled in front of it. In our story, we will find that when Mary comes to the tomb, the cloths have been rolled up and they're in a corner, and Jesus isn't there. She comes back to the tomb, and there she finds 2 angels. So here are 2 angels for our story as well. Let's hear the story. Early on Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene went to Jesus' tomb. It was still dark. She said, "Someone has rolled the stone away from the tomb." Someone has rolled the stone away from the entrance Jesus' body is gone. Mary ran back to Jerusalem. She said, Peter, John, someone has taken Jesus from the tomb. We don't know where they put him. Peter and John ran back to the tomb with Mary. John was faster than Peter, and he got to the tomb first. He looked in the tomb, but he didn't go in. He said, I see the cloths that were wrapped around Jesus' body. When Peter got there, he went inside the tomb, and he said, I see the cloth that covered Jesus' head. It is rolled up and in a different place than the other cloth. But Jesus is not there. Then John went into the tomb with Peter, and John said, I believe that Jesus is risen. Peter and John went back to Jerusalem, but Mary Magdalene stayed in the garden. She was crying. She looked into the tomb again. This time, she saw 2 angels sitting where Jesus' body had been. The angels asked her, why are you crying? Mary told them, they have taken Jesus away. I don't know where they put him. Then Mary turned and saw Jesus, but she thought he was the gardener. Jesus asked her, why are you crying? Who are you looking for? Mary Magdalene said, Sir, if you took Jesus' body away, tell me where you put him. I will go and get him. Then Jesus said, Mary. When Jesus called Mary by name, she knew that he was Jesus. She said, Teacher. Jesus told her, Go and tell my followers that I am returning to my Father in heaven. Mary ran to Jerusalem and told the disciples, I have seen Jesus. He wants you to know that he is returning to the Father. And that is our story of Jesus on Easter morning when he was risen from the dead. Happy Easter, everyone. Alleluia. Jesus is risen.